I am a virus. Chapter 1 Lockdown Diary 4 The Turning Point. I have always been accustomed to writing at night, so for the past few days, I've been staying up past 3 a.m. each night. I was awakened today at noon by a flurry of concerned messages on WeChat. Upon checking my phone, I saw greetings from across the country centered around a shocking news report. On February 12, 2020, from midnight to 2400 hours, Wuhan reported 13,436 new cases, bringing the total to 32,994. Clearly, after 22 days of lockdown, such a sudden surge in new cases led everyone to conclude that the pandemic had spiraled completely out of control, prompting friends to express their deep concern for my safety. Being in Wuhan, I have been closely observing and analyzing the development of the pandemic over the past few days. Seeing this new case number, my judgment is that it is not surprising. In fact, it could be a good sign. I explained to my friends that this number likely reflects figures that the government had previously concealed. If they do not promptly disclose the accumulated cases, the backlog will only grow. Assuming the government does not ultimately hide the true number of infections in Wuhan, which I still doubt, the daily new cases will be alarming moving forward. It might be better to report the accumulated numbers sooner rather than later. Of course, I do not wish for my previous speculation about the total infections in Wuhan possibly exceeding 100,000 to be true. However, if it is, based on the current figure of over 30,000, there could still be several thousand new cases each day in the upcoming week. What I mean is that after 22 days of lockdown, Wuhan has almost become a dead city, with minimal movement and gatherings of people. The likelihood of new infections occurring has dropped to the lowest point, meaning that these new cases are actually just a backlog of infections that occurred before the lockdown. By reporting them now, we can avoid the absurdity of attributing thousands of new cases to February 12 and beyond, which would only cause greater panic. What angers me is that, just as during the 54 days before the lockdown, the government continues to dismiss the people's plight and manipulate the numbers, with no signs of change. As a direct victim, I can only continue to interpret the situation on my own. After feeling angry, I found myself feeling ashamed for interpreting another piece of news this afternoon, the announcement that both the Hebei Provincial Party Secretary and the Wuhan Party Secretary had been dismissed and replaced on the same day. Given the sudden spike in new cases, I suspect that this day may actually represent a turning point in the pandemic. My reasoning is that the new appointees must be able to turn the situation around quickly and win this battle in a short time. If they do not see a turning point, there is no need for a personnel change at this moment. They wouldn't want two close associates of Xi Jinping to face a potentially worsening and uncontrolled situation. Remdesivir has been in clinical use in Wuhan since February 6. In a normal country, with such attention and anticipation, it could almost be seen as a vital clue for the people of Wuhan's salvation. How could there be no follow-up yet in China? There have been no reports of any clinical progress to date. In fact, from February 8 to 10, I received information multiple times through medical channels that remdesivir is highly effective for severe cases. But why hasn't the government or the media disclosed this? Even if the results are not ideal, since there is such public interest, they should at least provide accurate information. Now, connecting these mysteries with today's personnel changes, I am even more convinced that in a few days, the effectiveness of remdesivir will be announced, possibly even news of its mass production. Subsequently, new case numbers will gradually decline, and the number of recoveries will continue to increase, eventually surpassing the new cases. Under the guidance and leadership of the new officials, the pandemic will be effectively controlled, and they will once again declare victory. As I write this, I feel somewhat malevolent. Why do I think I can predict their thoughts and steps well? This is precisely the motivation behind writing this book, because the virus is in my mind. It is comforting to realize that regardless of how I deduce that the turning point of the pandemic appeared today, it has finally manifested. Assuming my speculation is correct, if remdesivir proves effective and can be mass-produced quickly, then there is genuinely little to worry about regarding this pandemic. The lockdown will, of course, continue, and the news about remdesivir may remain concealed for a while longer. Announcing that a specific treatment exists could cause many people to let their guard down overnight. After all, many citizens have been cooped up at home for over 3 weeks and are going stir-crazy. If some individuals ignore strict regulations and venture outside due to the promise of effective medication, we may find ourselves repeating the horrors of the past 76 days. You see, this is the proof of I am the virus, because even I do not trust the public. We, and the government we take for granted, do not trust the populace. We believe they lack the ability for self-judgment and self-management. Over time, the public genuinely forfeits their capacity for self-assessment and control, leading to increasing dependence on the government, which, in turn, grows more dismissive of the public. This becomes a vicious cycle. Now, as I continue to remain trapped at home, I can finally calm myself and begin a rational and systematic reflection. This so-called diary of the lockdown will conclude on what I perceive to be the turning point of the pandemic. This disaster has caused immense suffering for many, and I know that countless people will document their experiences in different ways. Over the past 20 days, I have witnessed numerous heart-wrenching scenes, plunging into despair for days on end. Today, I saw on Weibo a piece of public information stating, "Funeral homes across the country are supporting Wuhan." A short sentence like that is enough to shatter one's emotions. People on the internet have tracked down a set of data. Wuhan has 7 funeral homes, 84 cremation furnaces, with a maximum daily cremation capacity of 2,016 bodies. A manager at one of the funeral homes leaked recordings indicating that their workload has been unusually heavy since January 23, with furnaces operating around the clock, whereas they used to operate only half a day. Employees now only get 2 to 3 hours of sleep daily, and they are severely understaffed. At this moment, I lack the heart to calculate the numbers inferred from this information. I constantly remind myself to escape these suffocating details as quickly as possible and to begin taking action. I must admit that such tragedies occur too frequently in China. The even more horrific famine of 1961, where cannibalism took place, was only 58 years ago. How many Chinese people today still feel the deep scars it left? The over 30 million who died of starvation do not have a monument to commemorate them, and no one has pursued accountability, which illustrates our nation's indifference to life. For us, death ultimately reduces to a mere number. Given a little time, the pain becomes just a temporary emotion that quickly fades. It does not take long for our forgetful nature to resurface. As I write this, I feel both ashamed and helpless, as I am one of us. I possess the same national flaws that I despise in others. If this disaster might have any profound impact on me or us, it will be that starting tomorrow, I must take action rescuing myself and seeking help. February 13, 2020.